Hi friends, welcome back. I am DJ Montague, and today we are taking a look at Chrono Odyssey. We're going to do a little review and what I felt from this beta test slash stress test slash miscommunication of what the hell we were doing. But let's get into it. One of the most important things I like to think of when I'm doing any sort of video game related anything is communication. When I talk to you guys about video games, I want to be clear as possible, and I usually do a lot of takes about these, whether or not I'm talking just straight off the top of my head and in a flow state, as they say. But bringing this to Chrono Odyssey, the communication that we saw this last weekend wasn't super great, and it was kind of frustrating to see one of the things that I was really excited for to release by the end of this year. My dreams of that are a little dashed, and I'll tell you exactly why. One, I thought the team was bigger than it was, which is fine. Having a small team has never been a problem when creating a good video game. Having two people or one person, Chained Echoes is a prime example. The game is incredibly fun, really well done, and just an all-around great game made by 1/2 people. I understand MMOs are a lot different, but gaming culture and things of that nature have evolved so far that I feel like a lot less people can do a lot more. And given the tools that are available, you should be able to. And with this game, I think that the combat was really fun. I think that I enjoyed the style of it. What was most infuriating about it all was its optimization, and therefore, secondarily, the communication. They had said that this was a beta test. Now, I don't know if beta tests are very similar to stress tests in other regions, or I'm not sure what happened, if it was like a accident on that end where they thought they had communicated that it was a stress test, at least to the KR community and maybe the Asian community in general. But from what I saw, for the English speaking community saw this as a beta test, and it was the first time that anyone in the world had gotten Chrono Odyssey, this mythical MMO that we had seen in screenshots and in cinematics that looked absolutely insane, was ever to be in our hands. And I think they dropped the ball pretty big time. And I had said this beforehand, that I was going in with apprehension because we hadn't touched the game yet. And from inside sources that had touched the game, it was like, hey, it's fun, but there's some glaring issues, and you'll see when you get your hands on it. I luckily enough, being a person that, is a little more ingrained in the industry than most, I had the availability to have some conversations about this game with people that have played it and have talked a little bit about this particular test and the client that we would be seeing. And this is the big part of the communication. We're finding out that we're playing on an 8-month-old client. Now, a lot of things can happen in 8 months, but do I think a game could be perfected in 8 months? Probably not. But if we had known that going into it, I would have said to a lot of people, don't play it. Like, let the people that are real diehards and gremlins about this stuff play it and give you their word. Don't waste your time and energy, because you're going to feel a lot of jank. Like, this game, if I was the director of Chrono Odyssey and I played this game, like this patch or whatever client that they have, I would say, we're not releasing in 2025. We might not release in 2026, okay? We have a lot to work on, especially with wowing the community. They showed zero monetization, which for a Korean game was really cool on their part, but like, the bones of this game, while they're cool, Like, there's so much optimization that you need to take care of. And we're seeing games like Monster Hunter World get, like, absolutely blasted on Steam because they have such issues with optimization since day one. Now, this is an Unreal Engine 5 game. We're going to have a lot of growing pains because not a lot of games have come out on Unreal Engine 5, and there's not a lot of dev teams that really are perfect at Unreal Engine 5. This is a main reason why Korean developers used a lot of Unreal Engine 3 for so long. Even so much as Elion, the game that came out in 2023, was still on Unreal Engine 3. And that game failed for a multitude of reasons, but just to say, Korean developers will stay with an engine for a very long time until they feel they have perfected it. And these guys going with Unreal 5, while admirable, shows some cracks in the armor, so to speak. So that's my big issues with communication. Now, my thoughts on the way that the game actually theoretically, quote unquote, plays. The combat, like I said, is fun. It's moment-to-moment gameplay. Like, if you straight up ripped New World's crafting system, which they fucking did, one for one, and ported it into a Korean game, this is like my steez right now. Like, I love the Korean style of eccentric animations and ridiculous, like, suave, cool characters. Like, a prime example of that Korean style is the Deadeye from Lost Ark. It is literally like, they were like, we need an MMO with a Dante style character from Devil May Cry. And we're going to do the best we can to make it as flashy and ridiculous as possible at all times. Insane sniper rifles that shoot grenades and shit. Like, we're going crazy. We're doing flame carpets. We're doing it all. Like, and they nailed it. And I think that this game still has some of that Korean style, that insane, we're going over the top with these animations. We've got dudes with the two-handed axes doing triple front flips and shit. Like, it's wild, and they've got that, and I like that. Taking that medieval style and just throwing it in the style blender and just coming up with something really cool like this. I'm down. And then also New World's crafting system on top of it, which is pretty much second to none, in my opinion. I think if you played New World as like a almost Stardew Valley type of game, and you had like a dating sim on the side, that would be one of the most incredible games ever created, and people would be losing their ever-loving shit about it. But here we've got a team that's making an MMO. They've got a lot of cool weapons. It's about execution. Like, the skill trees feel a little awkward at times because we only get so many points and only so much in this test. So you don't feel as strong as you possibly could, and there's no real reason to put points into 4 different skills when, you know, you've got 2 full hotbars and you've got like less spenders than most games. I think each class had, or each weapon that I really used with Swordsman and Berserker had 2 real spenders that were worth it, and then a lot of cooldown based skills. So there's a lot of balancing in that direction, but that's all like theoretical. Skill trees in general are extremely hard to balance, and if this is a brand new indie dev team, we're gonna see a lot of balance issues for a very, very long time, okay? That's one thing that I also worry about with this type of game. Once the number bloat gets involved and we start getting the multiplication, we start getting a lot of the min-maxing and stuff like that, we're gonna see some insane shit. And that's the same thing that happened with like Diablo 4. Once the min-maxers were getting to end game, it was you seeing billions and trillions of damage in a game where a lot of people are hitting for 100,000. Now, if you've come around here before and you know my style, I'm not a big fan of number bloat anyway, so I hope it never really gets that high, but I'm willing to bet like people are going to break this game open once you get to like level 40, 45. So that is a worry. But we haven't seen that yet. Now, when it comes to crafting, I'm a little wary on randomness, like pure randomness for the sake of randomness. a lot of these passives on these items seem almost useless. And that becomes very strange when you're playing an MMO with the crafting system like this. It becomes almost an artificially inflated grind for perfect weapons, all because you can't have the system to, I guess, facilitate that yet. Facilitate these perfect weapons, or these perfect items, because once they do hit, oh my god, like, it's going to be crazy. Some of these things are going to be so insanely overpriced just because the market saturation of shitty items is going to be so high. So it's going to be weird. I think until they have like serious like set pieces that you're looking for and specific stats on those pieces, making build paths, I'm not sure how it's going to work in the beginning of this game if it stays with the same system. But I made a long post on Twitter, and I kind of want to bring those thoughts up here now, because I know this video is going to be long in general, and it's going to be just me talking over, you know, the footage in the background, but I want to give you like a real assessment and how I feel about this game. Not just like, oh, it's dog shit and there's nothing they can do about it. I think there's a lot they can do about it. I mean, optimization is going to be the first thing. Secondarily is like loot, and the party play, which was almost non-existent from what we've seen. Much of the early game in this game seems like you don't really need a party. And I'm afraid that once this game does get going and you start like transitioning into the party feel, that they won't have the systems to structure it accordingly. Your friends list per character doesn't transfer over. You should have an account friends list. This is 2025. Like, that's the first thing that I would fix. Like, it should be so easy. Like, if you have friends list on one character, you should have friends on the other characters. We're playing an MMO, guys. Like, it's really weird that Lost Ark did it. I get it to a certain extent with Lost Ark because of Unreal 3, but like, this is a brand new game that is going to release in 2025, 2026. Account-wide friends, come on, and the Steam integration. Let's go. You know. So my first thought, and I spoke on it before, was combat is fun, but when you are testing something on 120 ms. When these games, these Korean developed games, 9 times out of 10 are developed for like airtight combat, and they're developed on the thought of under 50 ms, because in Korea they have such good infrastructure for internet, and also the country's pretty small in comparison to something like in America, where, you know, 3,000 miles in between me and the server leads to like me getting a ridiculous block on my screen that I should have hit, and then I'm dead in a game like this. That's either we get centralized servers or we get West Coast servers and East Coast servers. They've already shown that US is split into several different server clusters, very similar to Lost Ark. They had US 1 through 6. And you could not interchange between those servers. So once you're on one of those servers, like, those characters are there for good. We're gonna need these shards. And whether or not you're an East Coast gamer, and a lot of my friends say the same thing, just either play on East Coast or move to the East Coast. They don't know the pain of playing a game at that degree every single day like it's your job. It's incredibly infuriating. Like, playing Lost Ark on 80 ms was bad enough. Playing this game on 120 ms, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna snap. And that is a big thing. I've been pushing for this. You guys know, if you come to the stream, check me out, twitch.tv/DJ Montague. You know that I talk about this a lot because I think it's really important to the future of gaming. We have good infrastructure in certain places of the United States, and just absolutely piss poor infrastructure, and there's not much people can do about it. So those gamers just get like pushed to the wayside. And that is a West Coast issue, primarily a Nevada issue, because there's not a lot of infrastructure that goes through the east side of Nevada because it is government owned. So that is a thing that affects the gamers, and it affects the games themselves. Like, imagine you had 10,000 people in Nevada, a state that has millions of people in it, that wanted to play your game, but you don't have servers to accommodate for them. So either they are forced to play on East Coast servers, or they just don't play your game because, like, it's like losing 33% of your player base, which is basically like the West Coast. We all know that the majority of the player bases come from East Coasts, but it's just something I like to talk about, because I think that some people, I don't think a lot of people shine a light on it, like the difference between East Coast and West Coast. But alas. Anyways, backward to my thoughts. Thought number 2. I think the most egregious error of the devs in this test was the communication. I talked about that before. And man, we're going to need more. We're going to need a lot more. And for the next test, boy, they better knock it out of the park, or else I think there's a real risk that Chrono Odyssey gets the dead on arrival, label. And now I don't think that. I want to preface that again. I do think that this game is fun and the combat has been fun. And even looking on Twitter, like, I go through the Twitter thread of the Chrono Odyssey, hey, thank you guys for playing our game this weekend, the first closed beta test ever, and people were generally pretty receptive of it. But people that come into stream chats, it's a little different. People are just like, yeah, this game sucks. Like, I didn't even feel like wasting my time. Like, it was a fucking dead game. And it's like, sometimes it can get exhausting having to deal with Doomer chat all day, but we are streamers. This is what we do. We face the forefront of the goblinery. Anyways, communication, which leads to the next problem. This is your big showing. This is your first step through this door. You cannot close this door ever again. Nobody can ever pick up, like, nobody that's played this weekend can ever pick up the game for the first time again. You know what I mean? Like, there's possibly hundreds of thousands of people that touched Chrono Odyssey for the first time that won't touch it again, ever, because of their first impression of this beta. And I had said, again, if we were getting an old patch, don't do it. There's no reason. And also, if you're not making it clear that this is a stress test, don't do it. Because people's opinions are going to happen so quickly and so ferociously that I don't think you can ever put the honey back in the jar. You know what I mean? Like, it's on the ground. You've spilled all of that honey and it's so sticky over here and you can't fix that. So, like, yeah, it's unfortunate. I wish I could go back in time in Chrono Odyssey, the real world, and be like, don't, and just like shake somebody and then convince them to push this back. Because having played it, like I said, I enjoyed it, but it's just like, dude, there's so many fucking problems. At one point, I'm playing on my Berserker and I'm having so much fun playing my Berserker, and I went into a cutscene and I wanted to see the game the way they wanted to show it to us. So I started adjusting my graphical settings, and it wasn't during the cutscene specifically, but during one of the, me standing in this instanced world, I crashed. That character was not accessible anymore. I could not access that character throughout the rest of the playtest. A good thing it happened on the last day. I wasn't that mad. And also, I was planning on making other characters anyway, and I finally had some time to do so. But, like, if that happened, like, to, like, Joe Schmo, who has 3 hours to play over the course of the entire weekend, like, dude, go fuck yourself. He's just like, nah, I'm never playing that shit again, dude. They deleted my character. I'm good, you know? And there's something to be said about seasonal content. There's something to be said about, like, any sort of shard based and like non-permanent characters and stuff like that. That's a whole different discussion that I'm more than willing to have and have had a bunch in my life. But the Joe Schmo is going to be the same dollar value as my dumbass. You know, like at the end of the day, we're both two humans on Earth trying to enjoy your game. And if one of us is not able to play the thing they want to play, they're just not going to. So, big deal. And the communication again, this is the hubris. Like, we watched this game on Twitter. We watched this game in clips and on trailers. And then the game we got is optimized so poorly. I have a 3080 Ti. That's not a bad card. I mean, it's not a 5090. I'm not, you know, balling out of control. So I don't have the biggest, beefiest PC. But I shouldn't be sitting at like 21 frames on like high settings, let alone epic, or even furthermore than that, cinematic. Cinematic is like, I think I hit like 10 frames and I was like, well, my game's crashing now. And it literally crashed my OBS while I was streaming. So fix your shit. There's like balance stuff, but I know that they've done some balance changes. So that'd be my thought number 4, I guess. Balance. But I mean, it's a test. And also from what I've now read, an 8-month-old test, things are going to have changed. And again, I will reiterate, we should never have played this build. This should not have been the build that we played ever as a stress test. I don't, it actually blows my mind. Whoever thought that, like, again, I want to shake them and be like, listen, I want your game to succeed. This is the wrong choice. There is no world in which this gets received well. Okay. But here we are. And so it almost feels like I'm fucking running defense for these guys. You know what I mean? Because I could see like the passion in the game. The artwork is really cool. And like, this is the first, like, almost like quote unquote cosmic horror, like H.R. Geiger inspired MMO we've ever seen. I mean, like, you've seen H.R. Geiger inspired things before, but like, this is pretty rad. And like a lot of the like character artwork is insane. Insane. And then you just have like the actual medieval clash. It feels weird almost at times. So 7, or sorry, not 7, thought 5, I guess. I don't know, you guys keep track. I'm just speaking off the dome at this point. There's a lot of passives that were broken in the game, and like thought processes. Like, okay, you have parrying, you have blocking, and you have dodging, right? When you block something, sometimes you block it with your R and B, so right mouse button. Other times you block it with a skill. Now the block, the skill dialogue can say block and then counter attack, which is like what a parry would be. But then a parry is a specific, like, you block on a certain frame and then your character like counters with like a shield bash kind of thing. Like, we need to get the dialogue right, because like, I'm thinking, okay, if I use this skill, it counts as a block and this will get me HP regen or this other thing. It's like little annoyances like that will lead to massive frustrations if you have them in large enough quantities. So I really want to hammer home, like, communication and dialogue and tooltips are so important for giving the character the information, or sorry, giving the player the information they need and are and required to establish an understanding of your world that you've created. Okay. Thought number, question mark, maybe 6. Having an exact replica of another game's hub. So some people found a exact replica of something from New World. Now that engine, I'm pretty sure, is Lumberyard, is the one that New World is using, and there are specific things and almost limitations to Lumberyard that are not the same with Unreal. But finding that exact location and not having anyone have said anything like, oh, we've took a ton of inspiration from New World, like throw homage to these other developers. They are the same as you. They are developing these games together. If you were like, dude, we were really inspired by the New World crafting system, and we took a lot of information from it and we're expanding on it, but at its core, it's an incredible crafting system. We think it's really cool. And throw those devs a bone like that could make or break someone's resume. You know what I mean? Like, what? Say this game actually pops off and gets a lot of traction, and someone's like, yeah, I worked on New World, which inspired Chrono Odyssey. You know, I was the lead dev behind the crafting system of New World, and those are going to be some accolades that people will want to put and could make or break someone's job. Throwing it out there, it's not bad to say that you like were inspired by something. Some of the best artists in the world were inspired and nearly like copied inspirational artwork, but then made their own systems and further expanded their style to be wholly their own. Plagiarizing someone's work is the highest form of flattery. I don't remember what the quote is, but I'm not going to spend the next 10 minutes trying to look it up right now. So, one of the other things that I noticed in this game is playing it feels like a clash of realms and styles, because some of these places are just very awkward to approach. Like, okay, in the storyline, you're approaching this infantryman who's scared shitless of this giant face coming out of the ground that is crying blood, and you talk to them for a moment, and then you approach this and you go into a cinematic where you're looking from a bird's eye view, and your character's not really in the screen yet, but you see this statue start crying blood and filling up the area around it, this pool around it, with blood. It's pretty fucking metal, let's be real. But you roll up and you touch the blood and you go teleported to another area to fight a boss. This is in the middle of a medieval like area, right? This is like grass and trees around, and then all of a sudden you see this giant monolith that is dedicated to whatever they are worshiping here at this altar. Some alien thing that you would never see in this world, right? But there's no temporal distortion around it. You don't like zone into it to see it. It just feels weird, like it's just placed there, like it's always been there. And that's what feels strange to me. These worlds are colliding. We're getting an invasion of a foreign force that we know nothing about. Almost like aliens are coming to this realm that only knew medieval combat. And it feels weird. And I think another thing with that is that these set pieces are really cool. But I'm never going to go back and see that head like that again. You know, I'm never going to go back in that area and like have to do some farming or anything, because there's no other mobs there. It's just that set piece. And so it feels almost like you put all this money into this really cool idea, and then every single player maybe sees it one time, and then they just go, oh man, that was cool. You remember when you saw that thing? And then never really have to go there again. I don't know if have to go there is the right way to talk about it, but it definitely feels strange that you just see it. And unless you make an alt, chances are you're not going to see it again. Strange to me. But I don't know if we'll get, you know, some of that in the Eden, which is a PvP or PvEVP area that they had talked about that was almost like an extraction game towards the end game. I don't know if we'll get like the, oh, you were teleported into the 11th world's version of that bleeding dome head thing, and this time it's, I don't know, shooting milk out of its eyes or something. I don't. Anyways, but yeah, like that kind of thing, I would like to see more used with these art assets, like the giant space butthole that we basically zone into fighting. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a cool situation, and you kind of just like teleported it away, and then it's just gone. It's gone from this world. It got time reversed into, I don't know. But if you're gonna make a game about time and you're gonna take inspiration from Chrono Trigger, at least do it right, you know? Also, one of the issues I had was the lack of character from your own character. Like, I understand having a silent protagonist to a certain extent, but there are so many grandiose things that are happening where your character doesn't react to them at all because you're a blank canvas. Like, the only person reacting is the person behind the keyboard or the controller. And it feels like I'm disconnected from my character almost, because like I'm seeing some insane shit, guys. Like, I just watched a crying stone mountain that cried blood. Okay, maybe someone would be like, oh man, weird weather we're having today, you know, like something, not just, okay, well, time to punch a boss in the face that is growing tentacles out of their fucking eyes, but I'll just chill and I'm gonna use these swords and that's it. And that just feels strange to me. Final Fantasy had the same kind of deal with it as well. 14, I mean. Having a silent protagonist is a really big risk, and it's really hard to do well, because you are supposed to be this monolithic, like almost perfect fighter, the hero of the world, you know? And that's almost why I don't like it sometimes. I wish it would be like, hey, you and your companions are the heroes that we needed, and you guys are doing so much work for this world. Not just you're Jesus, and thank you for existing on this earth, Mr. Sentinel of Cetera. You know what I mean? It's strange to me. And so what I want to kind of close with is that I really do hope this game can make a turnaround. I hope it does well. It has some cool ideas. And I will say it always and forever. If you have a decent combat system, you can always build a game around it and make it more fun. BDO could have done so much with it, but I think there are limits to my thought now the more I've played BDO in my life. You could make everybody feel like a god, but you have to slow the game down a little bit so that not everybody feels like World of Warcraft is a really good form of this. You slow the game down with global cooldowns, and you slow the like skill ceiling down with the game. When the skill ceiling becomes too much, a lot of the content will get locked behind that skill ceiling. I worry about that because I want people to experience the world and I want new players to be able to continue to enjoy it. But think about getting into League of Legends 10 years in versus getting into League of Legends 1 year in. Learning about League of Legends when Scion was a character that had a stun and a shield, or a point and click stun, and just like a shield that did damage sometimes. Anyways, what I mean is the difficulty of the game doesn't have to be in the stratosphere. It doesn't have to be BDO. It doesn't have to be Terra. Now, Terra is a great game, or was. I think they gooned a little too much, and from what I've seen in this game, there's not much to goon. And that's also, like, keep it mature, keep it adult, and respect your players like they're adults. Because a lot of the time, those are the people that are going to continue to play your game when they can, when they don't feel like they're alienated by, you know, the Genshin Impact Gooner players. Not to say that all Genshin Impact players are like that, but you guys are. No, I'm just kidding. I'm literally joking. I'm so sorry. What I mean is, we don't need the swimsuits. We don't need the tropes. We're fighting against a cosmic horror and time dilation, and all of these things are going insane. Everything's going wrong. I don't need to feel detached from the world, more so because, you know, you wanted to make an extra few bucks, because I feel like you would make still some good money by keeping the world together. So, I know this went super long, guys, and I'm sorry, but I really wanted to just talk about all of the experience with Chrono Odyssey and, you know, my wants, my hopes for it, and the things that I liked and the things I don't. I hope that this game can make a turnaround, and I hope that the next playtest really shows that this dev team has it together, because again, they've got good bones here. And thank you guys so much. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/DJ Montague. Streaming quite a bit more often these days, getting back to my normal sketch. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. You know, comment and let's have a discussion. If you feel like I'm completely wrong about all of my feelings on Chrono Odyssey's, you know, bones, let's talk about it. Maybe you could change my mind. You know, because that's always what happens on the internet in debates, right? Right. Anyways, have a wonderful, have a good day, everyone. See you soon. Peace.